So you know what the funny thing is? You had like Jim, the trainer, who would say like, oh, just go into a calorie deficit, which is just a more complicated way of saying just eat less. It also assumes that it's just willpower, but it's not as simple as that. So just to minimize weight loss into just go into a calorie deficit or just eat less is the most asinine thing that you can do.
Welcome back to the Kraken Power Podcast.
Ozempic has been around for maybe about 3 years now, or somewhere around there. I remember initially talking about it about 3 years ago. And now it's grown to be a massive scene in fitness, health, and weight loss. And it's gone way past just like a drug for diabetes. And so now you have people that are of all sizes, whether you're extremely overweight or whether you're just trying to lean out, even bodybuilders that are trying to lean out for a competition that are using GLP-1s, whether it's Ozempic, whether it's retatrutide, whether it's trizipatide. There's so many people that are using all these GLP-1s. And initially I was, as a trainer, as somebody who owns a gym, I was adamantly against it. You know, you're potentially destroying your health and taking like some random drug just so you can lose weight. Like you can just lose weight by eating less, you know, like you don't have to do that. So yeah, I've changed my mind. You know, I do think that there are strong benefits to taking Ozempic, semaglutide, all of that stuff, all the GLP-1s, that some people may want to potentially entertain, you know, like I'm not adamantly against it anymore. I think that it is something that somebody can take. And it's funny because the fitness industry, I wasn't alone in my thoughts.
Oh, I was there too.
Yeah, there's tons of people in fitness who were against all of these GLP-1s. And so yeah, we were no different than anybody else. But there's still tons of people, especially trainers, especially people who are coaches and stuff, coaching weight loss, who are against GLP-1s. In this podcast, I think that we want to maybe potentially start a conversation about it, dismantle some of the ways that people are thinking about Ozempic and all of these GLP-1s, and just start a conversation and say like, maybe it's not as bad as people have once thought. And I think that the reason why trainers specifically and coaches and weight loss experts are against it is because their jobs are on the line. You know, it's like this drug removes hunger and then people lose weight. And so I think that they're just freaking out. They think they're going to lose their job. Whereas here at Kraken, we actually are looking at it a little bit differently. We're thinking like, oh, okay, well, great. You found something that can remove your hunger signals. You found something that can help you feel a little bit more full. You found something that like can take away that food addictiveness, help you be a little bit more strict on the weekend. All right, so now let's build some muscle and fix your sleep, you know? So it's like we're using it as a tool at Kraken, as opposed to just being like, oh no, you don't need this drug, you know? So yeah, we have tons of clients that are taking Ozempic, and we don't want people to feel ashamed in saying that they're taking it. So that's what we're gonna be talking about today. And yeah, I think there is some science involved in this. So what's the science?
So GLP-1s is essentially a synthetic peptide. Like it's something created to mimic a gut hormone. And this gut hormone is released typically after you eat a meal. So something that would make you feel a little more satiated, make you feel a little bit more full. So these peptides, these GLP-1s, they bind to that same receptor. But the crazy thing is they actually hold on and they stay on that receptor for a little bit longer, making you feel fuller for a longer portion, whether you're eating or you're not. So that's going to really dampen someone's hunger signals. And for a lot of people, like that's the reason why they fall off their meal plan or their diet, is because of that intense hunger signal for whatever reason. Like we kind of alluded to, there might be other factors that has someone have a way higher signal for hunger than maybe a trainer who's just yelling at them to being like, use your willpower. And other ones like trizipatide, they also will slow gastric emptying, which essentially means that your stomach and your digestive system are going to slow down about like 30 to 40%. Like the contents of your stomach will actually come out of it at a slower rate. And when that happens, you have stretch receptors in your stomach that signal to your brain to tell you again that you're full and you don't need to eat as much. So there's actually like a biological signal going to your brain, which is going to stop you from going into or leaning into the habits that was previously making you binge and overeat. But there is a little bit of a trade-off that we probably need to talk about in this too as well, is with any kind of weight loss, it's not just going to be completely 100% fat loss for a lot of people. Like, this is pretty well known in the bodybuilding community, but it might not be well known amongst the normal populace. Like, when you go through a weight loss journey, you're going to lose some fat and you're going to lose some muscle.
So, the thing is, you've had all of these like experts chime in on Ozempic and they said like, oh, look at how much muscle all of these people are losing who are on Ozempic. But the reality is anybody who's losing a ton of weight all of a sudden is going to be losing a ton of muscle along with the fat that they're going to be losing. So, that's the problem with Ozempic, right? People haven't been really preparing their bodies for such insane amounts of weight loss, and this is where the trainers come in. This is where the gyms come in, because if you that helps you maintain your muscle, right? The more you train, the more you exercise, especially weight training, the more you're going to hold on to that muscle. So instead of just relying on just diet alone, you can also weight train and build some muscle so you can retain that muscle so that at the end of it all, it's going to be easier for you to keep off that weight.
Exactly. I think I saw a study where, in a typical weight loss scenario, you're probably going to lose, let's say, the total body weight. So let's say you lose about 20 pounds of body weight. And because we're doing it on a GLP-1, this happens fairly quickly too, right? Let's say a normal body weight loss would be in a calorie deficit would be like 75% fat, 25% muscle loss. Now, I saw a study where people who were actually doing strength training while on GLP-1s and eating enough protein, those people lost only about like 3% of muscle loss in comparison to, let's say, a 25% who is just doing just diet calorie deficit alone. So that just, again, proves your point where, the trainer does have a place. They even have more of a place that I would even argue, because they're reinforcing the habits that need to happen in conjunction with this weight loss to ensure that they're just not withering away and losing total body weight and more so lean muscle mass.
So I also do want to talk about something as well, which is how it removes the hunger signals, right? There are so many reasons why somebody might have like insane hunger signals. Whereas like you're a trainer, you're a fitness professional, and you're telling people like, oh, all you have to do is eat this and this and do this and this. But you could have crazy hunger signals from the way that you were raised by your family. Like these could be lingering like mental issues that could be preventing you from losing weight. Like, let's say, for example, you throughout your entire life, like your parents just fed you like processed food and Oreos and chips and all these hyper palatable foods. Later down the line, it's going to be harder for you to maintain a lower weight because of the hunger signals that are going to come along with that. With Ozempic, you get to remove the hunger signals. Now, the issue though is that even though like you lose a lot of weight as soon, and you obviously are at your new body composition, you lost a bunch of weight, you feel a lot better and stuff, and you're like, okay, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to get off of Ozempic. Okay, this is where the issue runs along, because as soon as you come off, those hunger signals are going to come back. And so it's like, do you plan on being on Ozempic for the rest of your life? And for a lot of people, the answer is no. Like, they don't want to have to inject Ozempic or any kind of GLP-1 for the rest of their life. I'm sure there's tons of people who have accepted their fate, but there's a lot of people who don't want to do that. So that means that you still have to work on all of your mental health. You still have to work on your sleep. You still have to work on all these other things that are going to help your hunger signals when you are off the drug.
People need to, in conjunction, work with the GLP-1s as well as build their foundational health habits, like strength training, sleep, and also like fixing the contents of their diet while they're eating in a lower calorie state.
Yeah.
And as you slowly come off of it, it's like those habits persist after that you've come off the drug.
One of the hardest parts for people when they're losing weight is like, okay, I lost 10 pounds and then I gain it back. I lost 20 pounds and then I gain it back, right? The reason why you gained it back is because you never actually fixed all of those things that were causing you to gain weight. Like, for example, your sleep, how much you're exercising, how much muscle mass you have, what you're eating, and all that stuff. So you still have to fix all of that. At some point, you're going to have to tackle all of those things. Like, yes, the GLP-1s do make it easier, and it's more motivating, so then you end up losing a bunch more weight, but at the end of it all, you're still going to have to fix all those issues.
And you'll see this time and time again with our clients at Kraken. Like, I even talk to a lot of our trainers who coach the nutrition program here, and I always say, coaching nutrition, and it goes well beyond just being like, eat this much protein, eat this much calories. Like, of course, like, you can get that from any app or any source on the internet. Where the real coaching comes into play is helping people, get to bed on time, making sure that they're avoiding screens, making sure they're getting enough activity in the day, making sure they're filling their day's worth of nutrition with nutrients rather than processed foods. Because, like you said, after they got into their desired body composition, it's like these are the things that are going to help them maintain, if not continue to progress after they've got to their, ideal body composition.
By the way, if you're watching this thinking, I wish I had a coach like that, you can. We coach people online. You get a real, dedicated Kraken coach writing your program, checking in every single week through video, all through your phone. The link's in the description.
I guess if we were going to kind of put a bow on this, we can kind of talk about how trainers feel like they're almost being displaced. The funny thing about it is, when you were talking about earlier in the episode, I feel like GLP-1s are kind of like AI to like desk job workers, where they're like, I'm going to be replaced because there's AI. And so the trainers were feeling like that very much too. They're like, I'm going to be replaced because everyone's just going to be okay taking drugs. But I don't know, as we kind of like discussed, like I would very much heavily argue that the trainer's place is even more important. And we'll start to see a lot of people, especially with, like, let's say elderly population, who, yes, they may lose a lot of weight, but they can't afford to lose that kind of muscle mass. Right? So if they were to have that weight loss, would get them into a state where they're no longer diabetic, but they still had the muscle mass, because every year they're going to continue losing muscle mass as they age. They can't afford to go through those crazy drops in body weight and just not have an improved composition overall. So I guess this begs the question then, how would you train a client who says, hey, I am on GLP-1s?
So you know what the funny thing is? You had like Jim, the trainer, who would say like, oh, just go into a calorie deficit, which is just a more complicated way of saying just eat less. And it also assumes that it's just willpower, that the person is just like, oh, all you have to do is just eat less and just stick to it. But it's not as simple as that. There's so many things that are playing into it. There's, your habits, your sleep, your exercise. There's all those things that are playing into it. So just to minimize weight loss into just go into a calorie deficit or just eat less is the most asinine thing that you could do, that you could even just recommend for somebody. So how we train somebody on Ozempic would be no different than how we train somebody who just comes in without Ozempic. It would be the exact same training. We look at the person's lifestyle, their goals, and then we make a plan for them, and we'd be like, cool, you're on Ozempic, sounds good. You still got to work on your sleep. You still got to work on what kind of diet you're doing, what you're eating. You still got to work on getting stronger. Sounds good. Not judging you at all. And that's cool. Like, good for you,
Well, I think the really cool thing about this is it actually allows trainers to help even more people. Because how many clients have you trained where, they seem to be doing all the right things, right? They're trying to work on their sleep. They're doing like 4 or 5 workouts in the gym every week. They're tracking their macros and everything, but they're still having a hard time breaking through that plateau. So if we can have something that helps them break through that plateau, and then we start to, again, work on all those habits around, and it just allows us to like get the ball rolling, that's just going to help more people rather than us having to like shame people for, a lack of willpower.
Coming from I'm Croatian, so food is such a big thing, and there's tons of other cultures that can say the same thing. That, Mexicans can say, oh, food is massive, and Portuguese can say food is massive, and everywhere, right? Everybody everywhere always says that. The reality is, especially if you're part of these cultures, like, it is automatically harder for you to lose weight, because every weekend, every month, there's some sort of celebration, and it's impossible to say no to grandma. It's almost like it's you're like the worst person ever if you say, "No, grandma, I can't eat my enchiladas." You know?
You're turning down grandma's love.
Exactly. And she's like shocked and she goes like and you go like, "No, I'm trying to like lose a little bit of weight." And she's like, "But you look completely fine." She actually takes offense to it, you know? And she may have already spent so much time making the food for you and then you come and you're like, "I'm not going to eat it." You know? So that's happened to me in the past, and it is really hard, and it's almost like, you feel a lot of shame doing that. There's so many reasons why somebody can have hard time with food, you know? Like, there's so many reasons. I'm just part of one example of why somebody might be having a hard time with overeating, right? And so it's nice to have this help, a little bit of, like, boost through, yes, like a drug, but that's FDA approved. And you can say no to food. It's gonna be easy for you, right? And so that being said though, there are still like potential long-term side effects that you have to weigh out. Now, there's also potential long-term side effects from being overweight. So it's like you're basically weighing it out. You're saying like, okay, well, on this side, there's heart disease, diabetes, cancer risk. There's so many things that can happen from being overweight. And then there's also, I'm sure, there's risks to taking Ozempic, right? Like I think there was like some reports of people turning blind and stuff, right? Like I don't know if you can actually just fully say that it was caused by that. But the funny thing is, that it's like if somebody's been overweight for the last 20 years, let's say obese, right? Obese for the last 20 years. They started taking Ozempic and they lost 50 pounds and then now they got some issue. Can you confidently say that it was the Ozempic? You know? Or was it the fact that they were obese for 20 years and then now like their body cleared all that out and then it exposed this like whatever disease that they have now, you know? So it's like how what I'm trying to say is like how accurate are even the studies that say that Ozempic has long-term side effects? You know, how can they confidently say that it was caused by the Ozempic from these people who had something that was literally causing diseases? You know, they were overweight, which caused diseases. So how can you just say that confidently that it was just the Ozempic?
Yeah, and I think there's just a recency bias or like an unknown factor. But we definitely know the factor of being overweight and obese.
Yeah.
And we can already tell with long-term studies of how damaging that is to not only like the person, but also the public health sector, right? If we go back to the United States, they're like 40% of their populace is obese and overweight, maybe even more than that. And the amount of money that the government has to pour into helping people with heart issues, cancer issues, diabetes, it's crazy. And so if you can relieve not only the pressure on yourself, but also the entire populace too, it leaves room for everyone to grow.
So if you think about it, this podcast basically it highlighted all the things that we've been talking about over the last like 16 or 17 episodes that we've done. You still got to sleep, you still got to eat well, and yes, you have this drug that's giving you a little bit of help, but you still have to work on all these other things. And so that's why training and fitness and gyms are never going to die.